Not to worry about that. Alright, so you're given this food chain here. You have lettuce eaten by the snail, eaten by the shrew. Now, Jay, if you want to come up here and discuss and talk throughout the whole thing, be my guest. Alright, the arrows, please do not forget, the arrows here means the organism is eaten by. Alright? It's not just to show just energy flow. The energy flow is an abstract concept. The diagram here is only displaying which animal is eaten by which. Okay? So we'll move on to the first subtopic, first sub-question, sorry about that. Name one consumer shown in the diagram above. Now, you have to go back and think, what is a consumer? Can someone tell me what a consumer is?
An animal that doesn't produce its own.
Okay. One animal that does not produce its own food. What's the other definition?
It's the thing that eats the other.
It consumes and also it eats another organism. So which one is a consumer from your food chain? The snail and the shrew. Now, the question is asking you, name one consumer. So what does that mean?
Only one.
You only have to choose one. Let's say, for example, you have both inside. What we do normally, we will only choose the first answer. If your first answer is incorrect, but in this case both are correct, in case your first answer is not correct, you will not be awarded because the question is asking for only one. Okay? So, you are correct, it's the snail or the shrew. The next one, the only carnivore in this case here is which one?
Shrew.
The shrew. If anyone puts the snail, could you please go back and learn your primary science? Because that is not what you're supposed to be learning, okay? The shrew is eating the snail. So this, in other words here, is your carnivore. What's the definition of a carnivore here? Let's see who I'm going to call. Yes, Brad.
Creature that eats other creatures.
Alright. It's an organism or a creature that consumes other organisms, okay? So you got to bear in mind with this topic, alright? Part C. A disease kills.
Would it be more accurate to say an organism that eats other consumers?
It is also correct. It eats other consumers. It's not wrong. You're using a different
Because
definition.
if you say organism, it could also be plant.
Good point. In this case here, you can say consumers eating other consumers. I will also accept that. But at this stage here, I will know what you mean by other organisms. But to be more accurate, consumers are those that eat other consumers. Okay? Not the producers in this case. Alright? That is still acceptable. Alright. So, I'm so sorry for this one here. A disease kills all the shrew in the garden. Suggests why the number of snails in the garden may then increase. What do you think? Alright, number one, don't say less predators because the question is saying all of them have been killed. So, your answer should be there are no predators. Okay? Now, some of you might say no shrews to prey the snails. It's correct. You can also say there are no predators such as the shrew. It's all the same because the basic idea for this is it is increasing the snails in terms of the population because there is nothing to eat it. Even if you explain in the simplest way, I will still award you 1 point because that is the main concept. Okay? Alright, part D here. Alright, what's the name given to all the snails in the garden shown in the diagram? Someone answered population. Is that correct? Yeah? So the answer is indeed a population. Why is that so? Look at the question. All the snails. What it means by all the snails here, it is a plural form. So that means all of the snails that you see are of the same species. Alright? So species that will form a population, and a population will eventually be a community. You have different populations, it means you have different species. Does that make sense? So this is all material and this is all concept based. Okay? Okay, now the other question is this. Which pyramid of number is correct for the food chain shown in the above diagram? Now, if you are asked to draw, this is how you basically need to draw, alright? But if they ask you to identify, you've got to know. Now, which one here should be the larger box, or in terms of its size, which is longer? The letters. Why the letters?
Because it's the producer.
One at a time. Yes. It is known as the producer. There are many of these producers. Without the producers, you won't have the consumers. Okay? So you got to make sure at the very bottom. Now, which is the only exception?
A big,
Sorry?
a big producer.
A big producer. Can you name me one big producer?
Trees.
It's trees, alright? It can be an oak tree, it can be any sort of trees because they are huge. Okay? So the only difference if you have one big tree, the bottom there, the letters, this section here, right, should be very small because here you're talking about numbers. Numbers is something that you can count, alright? So everyone has gotten C as their option. Fantastic. Now this here in question number 2, this is actually a very interesting concept when it comes to biotic factors. Alright, and this is how we should be able to tackle. They love to give you all these beautiful jargon words. Many organisms are adapted to avoid being eaten. That is the prelude or the preamble. What it likes to do is it tells you like a story, right? All sorts of stories. Now, then they come to part A. This photograph shows a gecko on a leafy branch, and it is adapted to avoid being eaten by predators. Explain how. What do you think? Hands up if you know the answer. Alright, the important keyword here is camouflage. Alright, so you can see, explain how. There are 2 marks. 2 marks means 2 points. So the first point here is, you can see the gecko is actually camouflaging. Sometimes some of you forget, oh my god, I forgot how to spell camouflage. And you write disguises, no problem. Because really, the gecko is disguising as a leaf. Right? There are many words that you can use to replace camouflage. Obviously, camouflage is the biological term. But in this case, we are not going to look for English. We are not in an English class. Yes, question?
Is it okay if we use the word mimic?
Mimic is different. Not mimicking here. Listen, we'll come to the question of mimicking. Mimicking is from one organism to another organism. Don't worry about that because it's just basically low on battery. Okay, don't worry. It's 30%. Okay, so the first word here is basically the chameleon has camouflaged itself to look like a leaf. Now, you may think, my God, what is the second point? So if you camouflage yourself as a leaf, being a gecko, what do you think the predators would do? They can't do anything, can they? They can just only see, okay, this is a leaf, that's it. So the predators are not able to track it down. So you can see there is a relationship between your points. Question?
Is it a gecko or a chameleon?
Sorry, it's a gecko. Mine is a typo, alright? Good pointing out. Alright, so again, if you see a typo, that means I am not in the right state of mind. I'm just waiting for my holiday. Alright, so please change the chameleon to gecko. Alright, the gecko has camouflaged itself, it has disguised itself to look similar to a leaf branch. Okay? And predators here are not able to track or hunt it down. I kept thinking of chameleons because I was watching a video on the chameleons before, so it just automatically, went into my brain. Okay, so do you know how to answer something like this? Don't just leave the answer on the chameleon camouflages itself. So that's a hung sentence to me. Don't make me go after you. Alright, so is everyone okay with this? Everyone okay with this? Okay, remember, the 2 points here is basically identify the answer in the first part. The second part is what do the predators need to do. Alright, there is always a banter between these 2 topics here. Alright? Now, Ants can give a painful bite. You can see how long some of these sentences can be. Very boring. But just to cut it short, this is an acacia tree. This is an acacia tree with the ants. Now the acacia tree has thorns. So put it this way, why do predators are less likely to eat ants on the trees rather than on the ground? Okay, someone said sharp thorns. What do you think?
Because the predators don't want to be harmed by the sharp thorns.
Okay, good. So you can see there are different answers, but they mean the same thing. Alright, so there are 2 points here. So your first point here should be the thorns will injure the predators. Okay? So if you look at the answer here given to you, it can be in many variations, but you need to understand the main gist of it. It basically has thorns that will injure. So as a result, what will happen? The ants will not be eaten. Or the trees have protected the ants from predators. Does that make sense? Everyone, is that okay with you? Okay. So this is how you should be answering. Now, you might be thinking, can we write something like this other than the answers? Of course you can, as long as the points are connected. Okay? Because biology here is very different. You need to see the point and the consequence. When you have a consequence, you look at the solution. That is what you need to do for biology. It's not just pure memorization. You memorize, that's it. You will not go anywhere because you're not understanding the concept itself. Okay? So, that's part B. Part C. Now, this is the question that I'm going to answer for Jackie. Shh. The first part here, camouflage, means you blend into your surroundings. Mimic here is you copy. So if you look at the wasp and the hoverfly, which one do you think is the wasp? The one on the left. Okay, I gave you a hint there. But if you look at these two, they are quite similar from afar, right? So even I myself will get confused. But, of course, being a biologist, I know how to distinguish them by looking at the wing pattern. Okay? The wasps usually have 2 pairs of wings. The fly, normally just 1 pair. Okay? You got to see because it's hidden above each other. But that's not the point. The point here is, right? They both have black and yellow stripes, right? One has stings, the other doesn't. And the stripes on this hoverfly will help it being, prevented from being eaten. Explain how. Now this is where you need to use the word mimic, all right? The hoverfly is mimicking the patterns of that of the wasp. And as a result, what do you think the predators will do? They want to avoid it. Good. Now do you see the relationship? You state the point first. What is the main answer? Then you go for the elaboration. Alright? That's how you need to tackle biology. It's not as simple as, oh my god, we need to answer and that's it. There's always a relationship. Alright? So, I will always tell my students, you want to talk about biology, structure, function. If you talk about chemistry, structure, bonding. You want to talk about physics, structure, consequences. These are the 3 things that you need to know for the individual science subjects. Okay? So let's see the answer. Alright. 1. Hoverfly mimics. Now, you can write whatever you want. You can say copy, you can say mimic, you can say almost have a similar pattern. Not wrong. They are all correct. But you need to write it correctly. Alright? And you can say predators will stay away because they can be confused. But if you write predators will be avoiding them, no problem. Because sometimes in an exam when you're under stress, you just go, oh my god, what am I going to write here? Right? When you look at the exam, this is what normally students will do. I'll show you after this. The patterns of how students answer questions in class. There are many ways. Okay? Let you all copy first, and then I'll go on. Okay. This is how you will see a normal student in an exam. Example, you have your paper. what normal students will do. Some will do this. Some even better. Some even better. Alright? Some like him. Alright, so many people. So, when you're doing exams, don't feel threatened by them. You just answer the best as you can. I'll give you this expression. You look up for inspiration. You look down because of depression. You seek information left and right. You turn around for suspension. But you look forward for your bright future. Actually, the looking forward, I wanted to run, but I forgot the name now. You look forward for an aspiration, I forgot about that. So look up for inspiration, you look down for depression, you look left and right for information, you look behind for suspension, you look forward for your aspiration. End of story.
Sure, but he's in front of me.
So that means he's more aspirational than you?
We should aspire to not be like him.
Friend, I've been doing this bantering for the last 18 years. You do not compete with me. You want to compete with me, you get more experience and you grow up. Okay, so second last question, question 3. Now, again, blah blah blah, you have this preamble. Alright? The bluebells do not run out of mineral ions. Explain why they do not run out. 3 points. Now, sometimes when you have 3 points, you say, oh my god, gone case, I don't even know what to do. Now, they might help you with some words. You might have roots, date leaves, mineral ions, microorganisms decay. Now, there is a difference. If they say may help you, you might have answers on your own. You can use that, not to worry. But sometimes, you know, when we know that you're all stressed for exam, we give you hints. But you need to form a sentence. Shh, 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 shh. No one talks. This is the second last. We're going to finish soon. Okay, so how do you need to do that? So, what comes into your mind when you see dead leaves decay? What comes into your mind? Decomposes. What else?
Decomposition, returning nutrients to the ground.
Okay, returning nutrients to the ground. Yep. What else? Sorry? Cycle of life. That's fine. It's a nutrient cycle. Oil. Okay. So, how I arrange my answers, you just have a look at how I arrange my answers here. Okay, the first point you have to think is, you're correct. You think of decomposers. So when you think of decomposers, you know that decomposers here, the first function is they need to break down large materials into smaller materials. And the second function for decomposers is they will recycle. So all of you have your points. Now you just need to organize your thoughts. You need to organize whatever that's given to you. Okay? Now, of course, when you mention about decomposers, you must also follow up by an action. And that action here is, it is decomposed, correct? It will break down. The date leaves will decompose into the soil. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3, right? Now this is the important one because they are asking you for mineral ions. So mineral ions here are needed by plants to actually grow. So what's most important here is that the mineral ions, which have already been broken down, right? And of course, when you talk about ions, it needs to be watered as well, right? It will be absorbed by the roots. And then you can add in furthermore. Hence, that's why they don't run out of mineral ions. Does everyone understand what I'm trying to say here? I'm not asking and teaching you the answers. I'm asking you to see. I'm asking you to see the thought and the logical sequence I'm putting. So some of you ask me, teacher, during my, mid-year break, I think I need to find a tutor. Oh, I think I need to do more questions. Could I just tell you this? Excuse me? Could I just tell you this? It's all your effort. You find your tutor, it is your effort. But who's going to answer the exam?
You.
Yourself. Okay? So it's all your effort. And as I told all of you before, I will not hesitate to ask or even not ask. I will not hesitate to answer any students' questions or doubts. if you're not sure. But on one condition, make sure it's not between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. I need my beauty sleep. That you got to remember, okay?
Sure, but what do you mean 10 p.m. and 6 p.m.?
No, I mean 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. All right, could I move to the next question? This is the last one. Okay. Again, this is one of the style of questions which you need to understand your concept. So, number one, listen up here. They have given you again the preamble, blah, 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 and etc. You need to choose the labels from the photograph to answer questions and only use it once. Alright? Which feature helps to camouflage the water bug in the grass? Which one do you think?
Brown.
The brown color. Don't say brown color. You have to mention brown color first. Although it's given to you as brown color, Bram, do you want to take over? If you say brown color, I would say it's pretty inaccurate because the grass is also brown. So what brown? Brown colored fur. Or the fur which is brown. Doesn't matter as long as I got those key points. Alright. Which does it use to detect predators? Long ears. Obviously, ears are for listening. Fight predators. Which one? Long horns. It needs to protect itself from the predators. Right, now, a baby buck to follow a parent through the long grass. Which one do you reckon? The white ring on the coat. Alright? So all of these information, look, exams are not here to trick you. We are here to help you. So information like this is guided to you because we want you go on talking. Because we want all of you to know your concepts, alright? So teacher Ivan and I have given our very best. Now, the rest is all up to you. Now, any questions here? Anything that you need to be clarified? Speak now or you will not be heard. Alright, so all of you are ready for your exam? No, I agree because you have not come to the point yet. It's not the climax. Yes, Wesley.
Sure, can I ask, like, if it
Can I just ask everyone to quieten down when I listen?
if it asks for mini Q, can we write camouflage themselves as the like?
What was the question again? If you see mimicry, is it?
Yeah.
For the camouflage.
Yes. No, I mean like for if it asks for the mimicry, can I write camouflage?
Okay. Now, if the question here is, if it's mimicry but you write camouflage, camouflage means you blend into the surrounding. Mimicry means you copy. Alright? But I would say be careful when you use the words of copying here and there. Alright? Like just now, if you wrote it this way, the gecko was copying the colors, yes, it will be acceptable. Okay? But you don't say the gecko has been copying. Copying what? That is something that I'm not sure what you're talking about. Okay? So if you say copy the colors of the surroundings, no problem. That will be acceptable. Okay? Any questions? No questions? Alright. So, it's now 4:05. Well done. Okay? So I'm going to switch this off.